Okay, good morning. Let me ask you two questions to start. Now, this is not raise your hand. You don't even have to write down the answer to the question, and you'll see why in a moment. But think the answer for yourself. Question number one is, do you like going to work? Yeah. Think about that. Question number two is, do you like going home? Yes. That's awesome. Most people cannot enthusiastically say yes and yes 5, 6, 7 days a week to those questions. But it really is a guide for living. And one of my superpowers, and whether I'm talking to a room full of lawyers, my family, my clients, is helping people who cannot enthusiastically say yes and yes figure out, what can I do about that? How can I move my life forward to happiness? Let me ask you another question. So if you are in the room and you work for Nifty or you work for ProSites, stand up for just a second. And it's really hard to see everything, but stand up. Let me just, as I observe your work and spoken to a number of you here last couple of days, let me just tell you what I want you to understand. From the side of the consumer, you all are not selling, building, and servicing technology that generates leads and makes more money for the lawyer. Because if that's all you did, you're in a very, very massively competitive field. I need you to believe, and I want you to believe, and I've talked to a bunch of your leadership, so I know they believe, that you are changing lives. You see, when you help a lawyer in a law firm get more leads, make more money, you make that lawyer's life better. You make his or her team's life better because they have cool jobs, they make money, they pay taxes, they do stuff that's interesting for them. But most importantly, and there's no web company in the world I've seen market this, but you're helping to match, in our case, a consumer or a small business owner who is in need, they got a legal problem or a legal opportunity, and you're helping them match with the right lawyer for them. So the work you do is so important. And by doing that work, I just need you to remember this for yourselves. It's like it is, you serve the world when you really sit and think about what, if you're the SEO guy, you're the marketing, you're the sales department, you're the development department, your leadership, you move the world when you help people with legal opportunities or problems get matched up with the right guy or gal who's a lawyer and the right team. Okay, sit down for a second. Stand up if you are with a law firm, but you're not the licensed attorney. You're part of that law firm support marketing team, infrastructure team. Your work is so important. You each bring skills to the business that help move things forward, whether it's marketing, whether it's managing the rest of the team, whether it's meeting and greeting clients, all critical. But here's what I want you to go away thinking about. The more you understand what it is the lawyers who own the firm and are running the firm want, what energizes them, what type of client they are best at serving, like where their superpower is, the better off you are going to be because you can communicate that, not to everybody, because everybody is not your client, but to that client who's wandering around looking for the lawyer and the legal team that you are working for. And so when you remember that as you bring your individual skills to a business, you move the world. Now here's the part that gets me in trouble sometimes. Trigger warning. If you're working for somebody and they can't articulate what the mission is, why they are the best for particular clients, why this is a great place to work, you should know that there are thousands of lawyers around the country who would love to have somebody like you come work for them. Okay, have a seat. All right, if you're a law firm lawyer, law firm owner, stand up for a second. I'm curious about something, two things really. How many of you who are here are not currently clients of Nifty? Awesome. Here's what I want you to know. I've talked to these guys and gals over the last couple days. They're the real deal. I mean, look, every web development firm is going to have technical expertise. They're going to understand SEO, probably, especially if they're serving lawyers. But the men and women I've been talking to the last couple days, they get it. They get it that the mission of serving the world by taking your talents and gifts and putting them into the world is real and is important. And so before you leave, at least start a conversation with people who understand that we are not just lawyers out there making money. We move the world. Let me ask you one other question. How many in the room, this is the first sort of business lawyer conference you've ever been to? Is there anyone here for that? Couple, yeah. You guys can sit down. Here's the challenge when you come to something like this. I have pages and pages of notes just from starting yesterday morning with Kelly. I mean, he was awesome. And it went throughout the day. And I am in this business, full-time practicing lawyer, been coaching lawyers for 20 years. I'm in this business. I have a million ideas a day. You may have pages and pages of ideas, and you're wondering, where do we start? Oh my gosh, where do we start? I think you go back to the first question I asked, which is asking yourself, your firm, how do we make things happier for us first? We'll talk about it in a minute, but it's so critical. Whenever you're in an occupation, you're doing work, you're playing athletics, doing art, whatever. Like if you're happy and fulfilled and energized, you serve clients better. You know, I'd much rather get a CPA that's really happy. Like that doesn't drive me, right? Numbers don't drive me. Makes me jittery. But I'd much rather have someone who's guarding my back and answering my questions, who's really excited about the work he or she is doing. And so here's my thesis. And you'll like what I have to say for the rest of the hour if you like the thesis. If you don't like the thesis, there's breakfast still out there. You have this one life to live. It's a one-way journey. You have zero control over who you were born to, when you were born, into what circumstances you were born. You have some control over how many years you get based upon your life habits. Some control over that. But it's a one-way journey. And I believe that it is meant to be lived for your joy first. As I said yesterday, each of you has a unique, never before in the history of mankind, set of gifts, talents, and interests that your job is to share into the world. Because it energizes you. And as Kelly said, I wrote this down, it was so awesome. How do they feel when you have left the room? Man, if you think of nothing else about this conference and implement nothing else in your business, but thought deeply about how does that client, or even that potential client that we can't help, how do they feel when we have left the room, gotten off the phone, or whatever it is? How do they feel about the experience I've had with you, they have had with you? Most lawyers give zero thought to that, right? It's all about skills. It's all about how do I get a bigger verdict? How do I get more leads to my website? All of that's important. But if you take what Kelly said and think deeply about how can I integrate that? How have I done? At the end of the day, everyone I came in contact with, how have they felt when I've left the room and finished a conversation with them? It'll change your life. It'll change yours. And that's how we move the world. All right, this all came to a head for me March 15 this year. I'm at Fairfax Hospital. I am getting ready to undergo cardiac catheterization, which is they stick a tube in your wrist, go all the way in into your heart vessels, and they look around. They're looking for blockages. And I meet Dr. Celia. She's fabulous. She's an interventional cardiologist, a redhead from Long Island. She comes into my room, and Sandy and I are sitting there, and she says, "Mr. Glass," she says, "why the hell are you here?" She said, "I look at your chart. You do CrossFit 5 and 6 days a week. You referee soccer games. You're very physically active. You don't look like you're obese, and you have 0 symptoms. Like, tell me the story. Why are you here?" I said, "Well, Dr. Celia," I said, "you know, I turned 66 in February. In January, I got a new doctor. He was curious sort, and a little bit elevated blood pressure, elevated cholesterol. And he said, let's be curious. I want you to go and write this down, coronary artery calcium screen." Okay, I'll do that. I trusted the guy. That test, if you score between 0 and 100, they're like, "You're good." Scored 1,400, off the charts. Holy shit, like, how does this even happen? That's what Dr. Celia was saying to me. She says, I told her, I said, "Well, I had the test. I scored high. 3 days later, I saw a cardiologist. And we started another series of tests. And each test is a little ambiguous. Now, this is really cool. Like, we've moved into the world, we've been there now for several years, of electronic medical records. So what happens with electronic medical records, right? You have a test, you get the result before any doctor has looked at it. So I'm trying to look at these things and figure them out, and each one was ambiguous. The radiologist involved in the test would go, "I think you're okay." My guy, thank God, he was curious. He says, "I don't know." He says, "You might be that 1 in 2 million who's totally fit, totally symptom-free, and have major critical blockages." So Dr. Celia says, "Look, we're going to do this procedure. It's either a 15-minute or a 45-minute procedure. If I go in and I see nothing, it's 15 minutes, you're out of the hospital in a couple hours." She says, "If I go in and I see a couple of blockages, I'm going to throw some stents. Throw some stents in there. 45 minutes, you'll be here most of the day and you'll go home. And if I go in and I see more than 2 blockages, I'm going to have surgery." Awesome, let's go. Go to the procedure, 15 minutes later, I'm up. I don't know it's 15 minutes, but she tells me it's 15 minutes. And I'm going to quote her, so I'm going to use the S word. She says, "Mr. Glass, did you hear me while we were there?" I said, "No, I was asleep." She said, I said, "Holy shit, come look at this." And when your doctor says, "Holy shit, come look at this," it means you are special. This is Friday morning. She says, "Sir, you have 5 blocks. You have critical cardiac disease." Again, sobering, right? Zero symptoms. Had done a game the week before. Felt fine. Was preparing for the high school season. Felt fabulous. So, and you can't go. Surgery's going to be Monday. We're not going to let you go home. Well, I feel good. Let's take the bags and walk down the hall. Like, no. Like, I made them nervous because I'm a happy-go-lucky, positive-thinking guy. So I'm in the hospital for over the weekend, 2 days. Sandy's there part of the time. And so you get a lot of time to think. One night I woke up and I thought, how do they cut your chest open and split it up? Like, there's a YouTube video on this I don't recommend watching. I didn't watch it until later. And so this picture is a couple days post-op. The black t-shirt is when I entered cardiac rehab, which I'll talk about in a moment. But I did 2 things over that weekend. Number 1, I committed to having the fastest return ever, the best recovery ever for a 66-year-old CrossFit athlete who referees soccer games. Now that's a marketing message right there, because I very carefully defined the market. And number 2, and I'd been introduced to this whole thing of TikTok and do your videos and all that, but I wasn't any good. I sucked at it, right? But I said to myself, if we're going to have the fastest ever recovery for a 66-year-old CrossFit athlete and soccer referee from turned out to be triple bypass surgery, why don't we just document it? So I started putting every day on TikTok. Surgery was March 18. On Memorial Day weekend, I went back into the CrossFit gym. I could do most of the movements. I could do everything except hang from the bar without pain. And so I quit cardiac rehab. It's a long 12-week program, which was boring to me. There was a lot of old people in there who couldn't walk. I'm like, I got to get out of here, right? Get back to my CrossFit gym. And 110 days after surgery, I refereed my first game. So that QR code. If you're interested, go to the Renegade Lawyer TikTok channel, where I document almost every day of the recovery. Since starting that, I know 2 people, and since telling the story a lot, this is the first time I've talked about it in a bigger open group, but 2 people I know, 0 symptoms, got the screening, and had surgery. They didn't have the major surgery, but they had stents. Please. So now let's get to what, hey, you're getting CLE credit for lawyer wellness. I think until they see the presentation where I say, and everything that the state bar and all the traditional lawyer organizations teach you about lawyer wellness is absolutely wrong. Maybe your credit will get revoked. I don't know. I hope not. But here's the deal. This is very typical. So I practice in Virginia, got a personal injury long-term disability practice. And Virginia State Bar, of course, publishes their journal. And they have a lawyer wellness committee. And, good Lord, committee, money spent on this. They even have this fake, you must have 1 hour of wellness credit every 3 years. Like every lawyer in Virginia thinks that this is real until you go and read the fine print. Like I always read the fine print. It says nothing will happen if you don't go get the credit. Because I was going to write him and say, if I'm in the CrossFit gym 4 days a week, refereeing a whole bunch of soccer games every year, like, do I get some credit for that? Right? And they published an article. It says that presumes, like here's my beef with the industry writ large. They presume that our lives are horrible, that is just the status quo, that is what you signed up to do. And so when they posted an article and they wrote it in their journal that this was undisputed truths about the legal profession, I wrote a long letter back. And I said, I got to let you know that there's thousands of lawyers in the country, most in the solo and small firm market, who we interact with and we coach, who are building thriving practices all across the spectrum of practice areas, who love their practices, who serve clients really well, who are energized by running practices, who don't believe that this is a baseline of undisputed truths. And so I'm the little irritant in the Virginia State Bar, because every time they write a letter like this or an article like this, I'm like, that's simply not true. And the sad part is that most lawyers, because they're not at conferences like this, and talking to entrepreneurial lawyers with ideas about how to lift their own lives and how to lift their clients' lives and how to do work that's fun and hard, meaningful and joyful, like these lawyers aren't even introduced to this. And so we need to stop whining about how hard being a lawyer is. We work in air-conditioned buildings. They're heated in the wintertime. We make money with our brains, sitting at a desk. I represent a coal miner in Southwest Virginia, so part of my work is if somebody becomes injured or sick and can't work, it's not Social Security, it's ERISA long-term disability claims. Group policies, it's a really fantastic niche. It's really cool. Coal miner, Southwest Virginia. Oh my gosh. I argued his case in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals a year ago, and we won the case. And one of the things I said to the panel was, if you picked up an orthopedic manual, my guy literally had every single disease process of orthopedics that existed in that manual. Earlier this summer, we went out, Sandy and I traveled up to a place called Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Took a little vacation. We like to go to places and ride bikes and stuff. And Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania is known for, it's a coal mining country in Pennsylvania. And we're looking around at the visitor center like, oh, there's a mine tour. I've been in caverns, I've been in museums, never been in a mine. Holy crap, 1,600 feet underground. With a guy, with a tour guide who was really interested in the history of mining. I think, oh my, they were digging this thing before there was power, before there was electric light. There was little kids in the mine. These people have hard lives. Most of our clients, particularly if you're in the personal injury or workers' comp or Social Security, that sort of space, they have hard lives. We need to stop whining about this. By the way, every profession does it. If you go and look at the literature, they all think that they have hard lives. I'll tell you, it's hard lives. Like people in the service, first responders. I have a son who's a firefighter, paramedic. Like that's hard stuff. And maybe I'm speaking to the choir here. But one of the messages, one of the things I do in my life is to generate ideas with people like you. When you go back to your communities and you're sitting around at regular lawyer meetings, which I don't go to anymore because they're always complaining in the litigation world, they're complaining about adjusters, judges, and juries in tort reform. All legit. But that's the whole conversation. Or they're bragging about their biggest verdict. It's a whole conversation, not a very interesting conversation for me. And what I want you to be able to do is go back and go, you know what? That's not true. There's lawyers out there who are having fun, who are prospering, helping their clients prosper, helping their team members get more skills, have a great place to come to work. And I try to get that message out. So the profession's response is all directed to symptoms. Confidential assistance programs, mandatory CLE. This is the dumbest thing. It is a participation trophy scam in Virginia, right? Think about it. For Virginia people who are listening to this and revoking their credit, it's true. You know it's true. 12 hours of mandatory credit. No one's looking to see what class you take. No one's looking to see if you learned anything in the class. We just do it because we think that somehow this is important. And it is absolutely no measure. Getting your 12 hours every year is zero measure of your impact on the world. They create wellness committees and task forces. Nothing good was ever accomplished by a committee. It takes individuals like you going back to say, I was in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I heard an interesting talk I don't think I've ever actually heard before. And that sparked some ideas, and I'd like to learn more about that. Here's what we aim for. You come to a conference like this, tons of great marketing, technology, ideas. Write this on your whiteboard back in your office. For me, this is the gold target. Building a place that allows you to do work that you like doing. 41 years in practice. For many of those years, 30 years, I did medical malpractice cases until I got to on the plaintiff, first on the defense side, then on the plaintiff side. So I got to the point I didn't like that anymore. I didn't like other people running my schedule. Pivoted, that's a word we heard yesterday. Pivoted. I can't tell if you're back there. There you go, yeah, pivoted. Justin. Doing work you love with people you like. For people you like. And I'm here to tell you that no matter where you are and how far away you are from this model goal, you can get there. And one of the great fun joys of my life is having lawyers come to my organization, Great Legal Marketing, come there who have been in practice 30, 40 years, who are kind of burned out, who when you ask them, if a kiddo in college came up to you and said, should I go to law school? These lawyers sadly are like, hell no, it's horrible. I'm like, you get to make money with your brains, working in an air-conditioned and a heated building, helping people. I think that's awesome. But having these lawyers who are burned out come, and maybe for the first time in their life, someone is telling them that it's not a baseline of undisputed facts that this profession sucks and that's just what you signed up to do, so live with it, but that it can be joyful. Oh, not supposed to have the band thing. Now imagine this. This is what this transition was supposed to be. What you should be learning, business development, marketing, sales training, enhancing profits, firm building, hiring great lawyers. That's what you do at a place like NiftyCon. That's what you do at a place like one of our conferences. And today, there's many conferences like that. This list, it's much cooler the way it was designed, is on the list that Virginia bans. The Virginia CLE committee bans any talk of this, things that we're talking about in this room, as a way to get CLE credit. And for me, that's so stupid. We're good technically, right? You went to law school, you've got experience, you know how to do your thing. The thing many of us struggle with, because no one ever taught it to us, is the whole build your business thing. And my argument is you're better for the client if you've got a profitable business that's fun to run, that has leads coming in and a line of people waiting to get inside your door, hoping that they can hire you, because now that changes the discussion all over the place. That's what we should be teaching. And the only reason, the reason the profession is so afraid of that is that we've never done it that way before, and that's not how I grew up in the practice, and so everybody needs to learn how to be miserable. Here's what I want you to know, and we can say this in this room with the doors closed. By being in this room, you are superior to most other lawyers. If you go out and shout it in the street, they're going to think you're arrogant. They're going to think your head is too big. But I want you to believe that. I think it's true. You move the world. And not only that, lawyers often, when we talk about why is it good to be a lawyer, we talk about the clients. Right? We talk about we help people. Okay, that's awesome. But again, that's what everybody says. That's why I said to Nifty, like, you can't say we build technology that gets leads and makes you more money, because everybody says that. But you think about it, when you're running a law firm or any business, you're taking on that role of the entrepreneur, which is a rock and roll roller coaster place to play. And you take on a lot of responsibility, because now you have to know a lot more than how to take a deposition. You need to know how to manage money, build culture, build a place where your team is saying to their friends in other law firms, you should come check us out. Our best recruiting tool is in our offices in the Fairfax 42-seat training center, because we do a whole bunch of them. Justin, we do CLEs in there. We do great legal marketing mastermind meetings. We host, but then we say, hey, to the paralegal groups, you got a meeting, paralegal meeting? Come over to our place. By the way, when you come, we're going to snack you, we're going to feed you, we're going to give you coffee, drinks, whatever you want. You want to wander around our office, The number one question asked in our office by people who come is, what is this place really? Because it doesn't feel like a law office. And then when somebody who's working for somebody else that doesn't have a firm that drives energy, they're like, you come knocking on our door. Got any openings? I have people in the building that work for doctors in our building that they come knock on our door and go, are you hiring? I don't know. What do you do? Like, what's your superpower? All right. So I want you to walk away from here, head held high, that you make a difference not just for your families, not just for your clients. You make a difference for the world by all of the interactions. When you build a business that you're not stressing over, is the phone ever going to ring again? Haven't had any leads this week. Is there money coming in by Friday? Because we've got to pay the bills. So you build a great business, allows you to use your superpowers. All of my stuff is philosophical. This isn't selfish. The world needs you to be physically, spiritually, mentally, financially fit. If I am going, when I didn't pick Dr. Celia because I was looking 5 stars on some damn website, right? She got assigned to me. But just her presence in the room and the discussion she started with, Mr. Glass, why the hell are you here? Like, I had confidence that she was happy. I asked her, because I ask everybody. Sandy Watay, we got into the car with the Uber 2 days ago. My friend, hey, dude, like, tell me your story. I asked her, tell me your story. How did you pick putting catheters up people's arms? It's kind of cool. She says, I thought about it. It's really easy. I do the same damn thing all day long. I work, 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and then I go home. That's awesome. You're happy. The brand that you work for, I trust. We're good. I don't have any questions with that. How do your clients feel when they've spoken to you or to your intake and sales team? Again, when you leave the room, get off the phone, do they feel, yeah, this is a firm, not only do they have experience, but they like doing what they do. And their team likes doing it. And this is so important. Like most people like miss this. The team likes working and doing what they do. That is worth more to you than almost any other technology, strategy, idea about marketing. It also happens to be probably the hardest thing to get is the right team in place. Because one of the things that happens is as you grow, the team that gets you to a certain level is not going to be the team that gets you to the next level. That's just a fact of life. It's neither good nor bad. It just is. And so as you grow, we're always looking for who are the people on the next team that I need to be able to play with at the next level. All right, let me share a couple of things with you. Maybe we'll have some connections. So, Sandy and I, we have 9 children. Very quick story. We had 4 kids and a dog. We're done, we're busy, we're happy. I took golf lessons. Those guys who were last night watching me hit the golf ball. 7 years later, I think. 7? Number 5 comes along. After 4, Sandy says to me, I think we're called to adopt. I said, we're full up, got no room for that. 5 came, says, I think we're called to adopt. I said, full up, we got no room for that. God said, I want you to go to a concert. I went to a Stephen Curtis Chapman concert. 18 months later, we were in Beijing, China, adopting Kevin, who's now 22. He was adopted 18 months. Went back several years later, adopted Emma at 6.5 years. Went back several years later, adopted David and Leah at the same time. They were not blood related. They were 11 and 12 years old. And that started off on a whole other journey, which is a whole other lecture. But we had to relearn everything that we thought we knew about parenting. Because a couple of our kiddos came from really hard lives in hard orphanages. And everything we thought we knew about how to communicate with kiddos and the brain and all that stuff, we had to go and relearn. Going to conferences like this in the brain science area. The 9 dogs are, we fostered 60 puppies and adult dogs, and on this particular day we had 9 of them running around. So like when we get unbusy and feel like we've got some free time, we just make things busy. We've been married 43 years. My daughter Emma, she saw the picture on the left, and she says to me one day, I showed it to her, she says, Dad, sometimes really, really beautiful women just want to date average guys. And every once in a while we get out and we do trips like this. So what we try to do is coming out to Salt Lake, come a day early. Bike riding is like kind of our drug of choice. So it's a great little bike tour we went on the other day. We've got 7 grandkids. Most of them they all live within 3 hours of us. They multiply fast, and that is joyful. You talk about joyful. Having coached my kids playing sports, and all of the hours spent with that, right? When you're the grandparent, you just show up with your chair. You don't have to line the field, set up the goals, do batting practice, anything. You just show up in your chair. And then this is my brand. We talked about brand all day yesterday. This is my brand. Crossed over 50 years of refereeing soccer, CrossFit athlete, and I try at least every couple of years to publish a book or 2. Some of you have seen them. Where's my buddy Gabe? You here, Gabe? Come on up. So a couple years ago, I wrote a book for teenage soccer referees. I'm very passionate about youth sportsmanship. If you go on YouTube and you Google Ben Glass Crazy Soccer Parents, you'll see some videos we put up. And Gabe is a local, famous, going to be awesome. You should get your picture taken with him. He's going to be a FIFA referee one day. And he came up to me yesterday. He said, I'm a referee too. So take that book, read it, pass it on to someone else. Does anyone else have a kiddo Does anyone else here have a kiddo who's involved in youth sports officiating? Baseball? Okay, got a book for you. So whether he or she is a soccer referee or a baseball umpire, this book, now, everything Ben Glass does is a philosophy book. All my marketing books are really philosophy books. This is not a book about the laws of the game. It's about how, for the first time in your life, someone not your mom, dad, your coach, or your teacher yelling at you, like how do you survive that? What's the mental mindset to survive that? Dan Kennedy and I published earlier this year, just came out a couple months ago, No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. It's a great book. We'll talk about some of the strategies here in just a few minutes. We come out with the latest edition of Renegade Lawyer Marketing. Comes out in 2 weeks. We'll release it at our conference. If you'd like to come over to Arizona in 2 weeks, I've got some really good discount tickets if you're not already signed up. But if you would like me to send you the second edition of Renegade Lawyer Marketing after we get back from Arizona, just send me a direct message on LinkedIn, like that's my place of choice. You can find me an email, but that'll get lost. And I'll make sure, because you're here, that you get a fresh off the press copy of Renegade Lawyer Marketing. Also, I wrote this book, the Live Life Big User's Guide Journal, several years ago, really just walking through my journal and picking out inspirational ideas, things that I put on my whiteboard. Anybody could do this. I give it to all my clients. I give it to as many prospects as I can. Because you think about it, my clients all have hard stuff going on. They're sick or they've been in an accident. And oftentimes they don't have anybody in their life who's a positive mindset, you can move forward person. Most of my discussions with clients, and Brian, my son as well, like, we're good lawyers and we're going to get the legal done for you. Like, we're really good at the two things we do, like PI in Virginia and long-term disability. But you have a life after this. And if you want, we will help you figure out what's the next step towards making your life better. Now think about that. When all of the other personal injury lawyers in the marketplace are just talking about big verdict, money, the billboards out here, interact, get a check. So I get it, like it works. This is branding, how we show up differently. By unabashedly saying, and our team knows this too, so our team resells this concept in every conversation. Ben and Brian are going to help you with your life if you want. I'm going to force it on anybody. But if you want, they're entrepreneurs. They're really good at coming up with ideas of how to go make money, how to take your skill set and go make something of your life. Even though you're hurt, you can't do what you were born to do anymore. I talk to a lot of doctors who, across the country, because we market inside of a website for physicians and money. And we are the only disability claims lawyer inside this major website and major platform that speaks to doctors about money when they have something going on in their lives that makes them unable to do what they were born to do. They call me all over the country. It's not just about the money. I talk to the most interesting people in the world, like almost every week. How did you get here? What do you like about your job? How come you can't do it? What can we do next? It's interesting to me. Makes it fun. Brian and I view the business of the practice of law as playing the endless game. It is puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. And we both speak and attend as many conferences like this, again, not the traditional CLE conference, except to the extent that it's mandated by the rules, but as many conferences as we can like this, so that we can keep getting better at playing the endless game. It doesn't mean that it's easy. I mean, there are days, and Sandy will tell you, grab her later on, like she'll tell you, there's days where it's chaos, right? Everybody is chaos. But we want to be in rooms of people doing things bigger, better, and faster than we are. Like, we're a small little firm. We'll do maybe 4 million top line revenue. We like to be in the rooms of the guys and gals doing 40, 50, 60, 70 million dollars of PI revenue. Like, I want to know, how do you think? How do you run your practice? How many bookkeepers do you have? Like, that's the stuff that is interesting to us, so that as we level up and continue to grow and make decisions about how big we want to get, because we both have lives. And our team have lives, right? We're coaching and refereeing and CrossFit and all this other stuff, right? So we're trying to figure that out. And so one of the best things you can do, I think, whether you're working for somebody else or whether you're an owner of a law firm or any business, is to get yourself in rooms of people where you are not the smartest person in the room. Where in fact you feel inferior because everyone else around you seems to be a little bit smarter and a little bit more successful. And that's an uncomfortable place to go. We call them mastermind groups. We run them, we're in them. Lawyers and what we call mixed breed, different business owners. Here's what you find when you're in those groups. The most successful people have something really dysfunctional going on in their lives. They're very normal, like you, in some aspect of their life. And in each one of those rooms, you have something that they don't have that they could learn from, and they have something that you don't have that you could learn from. And my experience is, in playing in that world, at least the last 25 years, is that the most successful people in the business industry are the most giving people I associate with. If you are interested in Kelly, again, go back to your notes and what Kelly talked about. Get the recording, get the notes if they have them available. Be curious. Like, stop talking about yourself and be curious about the next person's business. That's why when I'm on a long flight with someone and I meet and sit down, I don't know, I was on a flight 2 years ago to Phoenix and we're flying for a bit and I say to the lady next to me, like, my question always is, it's not what do you do, it's what's your superpower? Turns out she was a world-renowned neuroscientist in the field of pain and pain management. And we spent the next 2 hours just talking not only about the science, which was interesting, but I wanted to know how she thinks. How does she prepare for her conferences? How does she balance her life? So be in rooms of people doing things bigger, better, and faster than you are, and ask curious questions. Stop talking about yourself. Nobody cares about your verdicts. I swear to God, they don't care about your verdicts. And you will learn. All right, so here's things that will help you. And none of these are easy. None of these are easy. But as you leave a conference like NiftyCon, you got all these ideas, and you fly back, and it'll be Monday, like, I got all these ideas, and come back, and you bring them back to the team. The team's like, she's been at another conference. We're going to play for 12 days, and then we'll go back to normal. All right? You need to decide what you want your life to look to really look like. And again, it doesn't matter how many years you've been in life, right? 66 years, I'm still working on this. And the topic that Sandy and I spent a lot of time discussing amongst ourselves and asking others about who are farther along the chronological timeline than we are is, what does next stage of life bring for us? What do we want it to look like? And when you do that, your brain will say at the beginning, bless you, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have enough money, you're too busy, this will never happen. And what you need to have is the discipline to put that shit aside for a moment and just journal. I'm a journaler, like I fill journals. What would be perfect for me? Because, as you'll see, the clearer that you can make that picture, the more likely it is you're going to see the things in your life that are coming to you and be able to take advantage of them. So, for us who are in practice, so decide, like, let's just go back. I can see two screens. What do you want your life to be? What type of practice will serve that life? When I was no longer interested in flying around the country, taking depositions of expert witnesses and being involved in weeks-long trial and all that stress, I said, I don't want that practice anymore. So we decided, found a referral partner, because our marketing still drove a lot of leads for that. We make money from our referral partner. I don't want to do that. I happened to discover, or God sent to me, or something, a client came in one day with this ERISA disability case, and I got my butt kicked for the first couple of years, and then I figured it out. And now we're a major force in the Mid-Atlantic. We're the top. And we can say that, and we know it because you can go on Pacer, you can see who's filing cases. We know that we're number one there. We have, it's a very interesting niche, so I'm happy to talk to you about it later. So you get to decide. It doesn't matter if you grew up in a practice and you're working for your parents and your mom, your dad always had this kind of practice, and it's like not driving you. You get to decide what kind of practice that you want, and you get to change that if you want. And today, more than ever, if you want to change the practice model or the area you're in, you find conferences like this, and you go there and you sit in rooms with people smarter than you are, and you ask curious questions. That's the model for how you do it. And then it's like, all right, I got that practice. Who's a client? Who is a client that when they call on the phone and they walk in the door, it excites you, and they're excited because they're in the room with you? I'm telling you that this is possible. And it causes you to say no to a lot of people, and I'm giving you permission to say no to a lot of people, because contrary to what the establishment wants you to believe, often, we're not here to serve everybody. We do a disservice to the world when we serve people that are not in our lane, who we don't like serving. And you can ignore it. Ben Glass said on this stage in Salt Lake that it's okay to say no to things that don't drive my own energy because it's not serving the world. Because here's the thing, for that client, whoever that client is, there's somebody who would be energized by that client. There's someone who loves that work. Your job is to develop a network. Justin talked about this. Our Rolodex is huge, right? We know who the good lawyers are. We know who lawyers would be a great fit. What I want people in our community to trust us enough to call us first no matter what the legal problem is. Let us be the Abe Lincoln authority in the Abe Lincoln legal authority in the community who's going to guide you to the right person. It may be us, and if it's us, our team is going to enthusiastically resell the good idea you had to contact us. But if it's not us, we're going to send you to a great place. And that experience had better be good. Because if we hear that they don't have a great experience at that place, you're going off of our list, right? And only when you have those first three questions answered, what do I want my life to be? What's the practice I want to have? Who's the avatar client that comes there? Now you start to think about designing the marketing. And that's how you work with guys and gals at Nifty. Like, their job is so much easier when you are really clear. It's not just car accidents. It's not everybody who's been in a car accident, actually. But the clearer you can get on who you want to see walking through the door. So a brand that we have is, hey, we serve lawyers, doctors, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and other C-suite executives who can no longer do their work. And I just invented that. I just decided one day that that was the avatar I wanted to serve. They make more money, their claims are bigger, I make more money, and I help change their lives because their lives are complicated. And when they come to me first, we make it easy for them. Then, and only then, can you communicate with a marketing partner and say, now go do your work to find me this avatar. Big mistake lawyers make, PI world. 27 different flavors of PI. Oh, really? Like, when's the last time you did one of these nursing home, abuse cases? Oh, we don't do those. Why is it taking up space and energy on your website? Because really what you're saying is, I'm a generalist, and people want specialists. All right, let me give you a few minutes here, and then maybe we'll have time for questions. A couple of ideas from No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs about, quote, managing your time. Again, the book is a philosophy book, because if you don't buy the philosophy that you are the king, you get to decide how you want to live your life. You get to decide who you're going to work with. You get to decide what barriers you set up around you to help you work in your zone of genius, which is what you were born to do. If you don't believe that that's the way to live, no strategy is going to help you. Understand the value of your time and stop doing stuff that's not at your pay grade. Lawyers have the hardest time with number two. I used to think I was the only one who could talk to a new prospect, who could answer an interrogatory, who could read a medical record, write a brief, write a complex ERISA brief about ERISA regulations. I told my coach, my mindset coach, Sammy Chong out of Toronto, trying to scale this thing, but I hate, these briefs take a long time to write, and I'm the only one who can write them in the whole world. He's like, Ben, I don't know if you guys know Sammy's awesome. So, I don't think that's true. All right, what are we going to do about it, Sammy? He says, we got to ask the universe. That's the language Sammy talks about. And what he meant was being very clear on if this perfect person walked into my life who could write, who I could teach to write, teach the basics, they could produce 80% product, and now I get to come in and put icing on a really nice cake. And the only thing that stops lawyers from doing this is our own damn ego. We've got about 23 under roof at Bengals Law. I think we're at 6 or 7 working out of the Philippines for us. Awesome. This is AI and out-of-country workers are the 2 biggest changes for us, solo and small firm lawyers in the legal industry. Like, this is our huge advantage. So Brian and I both have full-time executive assistants, 40 hours a week, whose only job is to make our lives easier by eliminating scrolling through hundreds of emails, managing the calendar, dealing with all of the people who want to maybe get on my stage or sell me something, creating, hey Claire, I got PowerPoint, here's my ideas, can you go make me the PowerPoint, right? And we spent time this year really being coached on how to be great delegators, how to really be able to give instructions that are followed, how to have great feedback loop to fix things. It's going to be messy at times, that's okay. But what it does is it releases you to do what you were born to do. If you're a lawyer, you were born to think strategically about your client's problem or your client's opportunity. I haven't taken an unplanned inbound phone call in over 25 years, since I read the first edition of No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. And when I started that, my team said, that's crazy, you're a PI lawyer and people want you and they need you. And I go, I don't think so. Look, they can still get to me, it's just not going to be on their plan, not going to be on their time. Like if I'm working on your brief and Billy's calling me because he had a brain fart and he's got a question about his case, which is, by the way, usually a process question, not usually a legal lawyer question, like that, there's so much science about how long it takes me to get back to doing the work on this brief. So I turned that off over 25 years ago. And people know, Megan knows, like, I have barriers around me. Like, Claire is my guardian. You can talk to Ben when I let you talk to Ben. But until then, let me, Claire, get all of the information together so Ben can make a great decision about whatever it is you're asking. Time block all activities. This is so easy now with technology. And again, there's chapters and chapters here in the book. And then I want to stop and take some questions. I've got a few more slides. But I don't keep a to-do list. If an idea comes up here, or I'm in a leadership meeting, and there's something that Ben is responsible for, accountable for, and need to do, I do write it down. But then by the end of the day, it has to find a slot on my calendar. It has to find a physical slot with a start and end date on the calendar. A start and end date on the calendar. What you will discover when you engage in this practice for as little as 5 business days is that you have way too much shit to do. And so now what do? You start to learn how to say no. You start to learn how to delegate. You start to learn the importance of building up a team. If you look on here, number 6, you need an audience for client calls. Every time I have a client call, it's on speakerphone, and my team, like especially new members, come on in, just listen. Listen how I talk to the client. Listen to the questions the client's asking. I want you to know what the answers are. Again, not the lawyer, legal question. Most questions are not strategy, lawyer, legal. They're what happens next questions. I want you to sit in and listen. You got a mad client, I want you to sit in and listen. We have a crowd. So anybody's ever pitched, it's kind of rare, but somebody might be mad. Usually we don't take their case. I bring an audience in, speakerphone, boom. I want them to see how I behave, how I respond, so that they can model that. So they know not only what we say, but why we say it, because we'll do a debrief out of that. When you start to build a team that is fully engaged in the mission, there's a chapter on time vampires. Time vampires are all those people that come lining up outside your door that says, I just need a minute. And you're like, no. Write it down. We'll find a time on the calendar. When you come to me, bring me 3 of your best ideas for solving the problem you think you have. Give me your recommendation for the idea that you think is the best, and now we'll talk about it. And you know what? Usually, they figure it out. And if they don't figure it out, the world doesn't end. Like, mistakes happen. When you delegate your calendar, your email, your travel schedule, So many things now. We're delegating and we're building playbooks about Ben and about the two businesses I run. There's going to be mistakes, but the alternative is you don't get to play in your genius zone most of the time, and that's what you are paid to do. And what happens is when you don't understand time management and you're not ruthless, and ruthless does not mean mean. Ruthless means I'm paying attention to this. What happens is we steal the time from our families. Go have dinner, your phone's on, after dinner you're back working because you let a time vampire come in with an unscheduled visit, or you talk to some client who didn't schedule and didn't even have an organized thought in their head about what it is they really wanted you to do. You spent time with that, you didn't get finished with your brief, the brief's due Monday, and you're in the office on Saturday rather than at your kid's baseball game because you let it happen. And I'm here to give lawyers not just the information that makes this possible, but the mindset and the philosophy that says, not only is this okay, but this is what the world needs. Got a couple slides on building a great team. We run EOS, the book is Traction, weekly meetings, quarterly meetings, 2-day offsite retreat, where one of the questions we ask each other on our offsite retreat is we go around the room with our leadership team. 2 questions. One, everybody else is saying what they appreciate about you. That's easy. And then everyone goes around the room and says, here's one thing I see that maybe you don't recognize, that if you changed this, it'd be better for the business. Ooh, you have to have a really trust-filled leadership team. That's complex. I recommend Traction. I recommend the EOS program. QR codes to my LinkedIn. Who's got questions? I got 3 minutes. Questions, any of this. And I have prizes. I have prizes for questions. There we go. Yes?
Ben, if we were to want to check out your materials, your books, things that you've been talking about, is there like a central location we can go to?
Thank you for asking that question. Come on up. Here's no BS, time management for entrepreneurs. Well, you take your choice. Pick one. So look, I'm easy to find. Ben Glass Law, I'm a full-time practicing attorney. Brian runs the PI, I run the long-term disability division. I'll tell you, the coolest thing about long-term disability is unlike Social Security, we keep getting paid as long as the client gets paid. So we have clients that are getting benefits for years. We've got about $33 million of future benefits under management, which really adds to the value of the firm, we believe. And our clients are ecstatic about having us there. So benglasslaw.com, greatlegalmarketing.com. Chad's coming to speak at our event, and a couple other team members are coming out in 2 weeks to Phoenix, to Mesa, GLM Summit. I've got discount codes if you haven't signed up, if you've got some time. And look, we run mastermind groups. I love helping lawyers, and I will spend some time with you. If you're interested, if you're curious, don't waste my time. I will 100% help you. I'll pour into you. Did you have your hand up? Yes?
So, Toby called me out on all this, and he's called me out on it.
Then I did a good job.
You've done a great job. So, 25 years of living that lifestyle. It's not going to change overnight for me. And my biggest concern is losing connection with the client. So, the clients are the time vampires. Which one is here?
Take a pick.
Jason,
Okay.
read it for me.
Yes.
So, changing the mindset is the hardest part, and telling the client, you can't know. The front desk
Yep.
saying, no, you can't get to Stacy. You need
Yes. So, Ben doesn't answer emails, right? So the question is now, how do I change? How do I change? I've built this thing. I've given everybody permission to disrupt my life and make me steal from my family. How do I change that? Well, first you have to make a decision to do it. Number two, it's an ego thing, right? Our clients have relationships with our team members. They love our team members. Here's a tip. Every online review the purpose of it is to get the client to mention the team member. We then take that online review, we put it on a placard, and we put it in the team member's office. That's a really cool idea. Now, clients can get to you. I didn't say they don't get to me. They just don't get to me when they have a brain fart and decide at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm writing a brief to get to me. So then the process is terrific. You need to talk to Mr. You need to talk to Mr. Goss. What questions do you have? Most of them are process questions. What other do you have all the documents in your estate planning? I think your estate planning, is that right? Yeah, estate planning. Yeah, so most of it is a process question. So when your team is saying, great, we're going to set you up a time, what are the questions? Oh, well here, I'm going to send you I'm going to answer your questions. Here are your 3 process question answers. Number 1. Number 2 is now you are going to be prepared. You're going to have the documents in front of you so that you're not caught unaware. Because if you're working on one case, somebody says there's a brain fart, they call you, they have this question, you look silly if you don't have the memory of a 25-year-old. Not to say that you don't look like you're 25, but I used to be able to remember every case, every client. I ain't do that anymore, right? So when I'm having that meeting, I have the documents in front of me. I know exactly what the questions are. Usually my team has already answered all those questions in exactly the same way I'm going to answer them. I answer them, the client goes, oh, you're so smart. You have to have the willingness to do it, and you have to understand that clients, that we think what you think what you just said about the clients wanting and needing you is true. I do not think it is true. It's a story we tell ourselves. It is ego getting in the way. And if your team isn't good enough to be you, to rep the brand to that client, then you need either more training or a better team. Trigger warning, right? I gave them permission to leave you if you're not totally energized by this, but you can get rid of them too, and that's the challenge. I will say this too, try it. I don't think you'll find that I'm 100% wrong. I think you will find that, holy cow, this is actually a really good idea. I like this. Hopefully that helps.
What are the biggest tackles? I have access to Stacy here professionally and personally, of course. But one of the things that drives me nuts is sometimes I can't get in the room with her to talk about the financial meetings, the directions, and all that good
Yeah.
stuff. Can you elaborate more about the importance of that?
Yes.
Hearing it from me is one thing, and hearing
Look.
it from a different story.
So the question is husband, wife, spouse? Yeah, husband, wife, quasi in business together because all the money is ours. And, and Sandy knows, if I come on the end of the day, she's like, I have these 3 questions. I'm like, no, come to my meeting in the daytime. The way to solve that, and some of my friends run family EOS meetings. So Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock, bring your questions. And then what that does is, whether I'm preventing the line coming into my office or I'm having this meeting with my spouse, is now as the week goes on and we have these questions, we're bundling the questions. On Tuesday, you might go, here's a question, or she might have a question. But maybe by Sunday, you guys have figured it out, you don't even need to talk about it. Rather than this interrupt us action, which is, it irritates me, right? And it probably irritates her. And so let's just plan it. There's a book called the EOS Life. It's short, it's easy to read, but it is a philosophical book about this. We good? I have a couple more copies of books if you want. If you need any of my books, hit me up on LinkedIn. Again, you want to come out to Arizona, love to have you. If you just want to get on a 20-minute call at some point and just to have a chat about your practice or even about your life, I love doing that. We will get it scheduled. I'm really busy until after the end of the first week of October, because it is conference season. And I do have cases and arguments and stuff. Thank you all very much. It's been awesome.